Oh my god, brr, it's fall. Let's all pretend it's October. Let's pretend it's cold outside, even though it doesn't get cold outside in October here in the valley, because what the fuck? On the upside, we live really close to the island, so... Okay, anyone hungry? So this girl says that her family and her... So this girl says that her family moved into this house in Mexico, and it was one of those houses that shared a wall with the neighbor. So any little sound that they would make, you would hear, and vice versa. Every night, almost like around the same time, they would hear a baby crying, and it became such a frequent thing that every time they would hear the baby cry, they'd be like, oh, there goes the baby. There goes the baby crying again. At this point, they hadn't met their neighbors just yet. They didn't, I mean, obviously they knew they had a baby, but they didn't know if they had other kids as well. She was the oldest of her siblings, so it was her, a brother, and a little sister. So one day when she's taking care of her siblings and her parents are working, she noticed that the neighbors were outside and the kids were playing. So she's like, hey, let's go outside and play with them and get to know them since we live right next to them. So she's out there, and they had kids similar to her siblings in age. And when she started talking to the oldest there, she said that she's like, hey, where's your baby? Can we meet her? We do hear her like across the wall. We hear her crying sometimes. And the neighbor looks at her like, no, we don't have a baby. And she's like, what? No, like we hear the baby crying. And her neighbor's like, okay, I'm gonna tell you, but don't freak out. A baby did pass away in your apartment, and I promise you that we do not have a baby, but sometimes we do hear the baby sounds, and it's coming from your apartment, not from ours. So she has no idea what to make of it, because she's like, what if they're just joking around or like pranking me? Because again, this is the first time that they meet. And she waited for her mom and dad to come home, and she tells them what the neighbor said. She tells them that they didn't have a baby, and that they knew that a baby had passed away in their apartment, so there was never a baby crying on the other side of the wall. Her mom also thought the same. She's like, oh, they're just playing a prank on you. We clearly hear that baby through the wall. So some time passes. They still sometimes hear the baby, and there is a night where it was basically her job as, you know, the eldest daughter to tuck her siblings into bed. And she says that she was in her siblings' bedrooms putting them to bed, reading them a book. Sometimes she would sing to them as well. And that's what she was doing that night with the door closed. And as she's reading them a book, the dad walks into the room like so urgently, and he's like, what's wrong? What's going on? She's looking at him like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I heard somebody crying, like they got hurt. And she's like, no, look at us. They're laying in bed like nothing's wrong. And she says that she could tell by the look in her dad's face where he was like, fuck. This place is haunted, and I heard a kid crying. He thought it was his kids because it was definitely coming from inside the apartment. Time would pass, and they would continue to hear these sounds where the parents were like, oh shit, something's wrong, because they thought that their kids were crying like they had gotten into accidents inside the house or something. It got so bad that the bedrooms for mom and dad were right across from each other. The parents moved their bed right in front of the door and did the same thing to the siblings' bed. They couldn't sleep with the doors closed anymore. That way, if they heard something, they could just look across the hall and see their kids asleep. Like, it got to that point where like they were hearing all these sounds in the room, and they just wanted to make sure it wasn't the kids. But obviously, that is not the way that you should be living. So eventually, they did move out of that place because of how bad it was. All those cries of a baby and them thinking it was the neighbor, and indeed, it was never the neighbor. The neighbors did not have a baby. I feel like I'd be freaking out too. Like, imagine like just being woken up, hearing a cry, thinking it's your kid, and you go in there and it's like, there's no one there, but you clearly heard somebody crying. I would have moved out too, but what do you guys think?